So how have I gone from $0 to $1 million in my businesses? Well, first of all, it's a little bit over $1 million now, but for the title of the video, 0 to $1 million. How have I done it? Well, I've done it by focusing on one system. And trust me, I know what you're thinking. Oh, it's just like, he's just saying he's just did this one thing and he's made $1 million. It's not like that at all. But when I look at what I've done, everything that I do ties back to this one singular. It is a system, but it's also kind of like a concept and just like pillars, right, in the agency and in my businesses. And I've always focused on this one system. Now, a system should provide a greater output than that of the individual parts which make up the system. Meaning, if you just have one part of a system, that individual output of that singular part wouldn't be as great as if that singular part was put together with the other parts in the system, and then the overall output should be much higher. And so what I've done over my very short journey so far is focus on one system, and that system has its individual parts, which is where my focuses go to then ultimately increase the output of the overarching system itself. And in this video, I want to explain what those parts are, which literally have enabled me to go from 0 to $1 million. It's a crazy claim, I know, but please just continue watching because I'll explain how it all plays out. So the system is made up of 4 individual sections or stages or whatever you want to call it, right? 4 individual parts. But one of the parts, which is the second section I'll talk about, is not always evident. However, it does come into play. So let me explain what the system is. Now, it starts with attention. Okay, so no matter what I'm doing, no matter what I've done, whether it's for the education side of what I do, whether it's for my agency, I'm always gaining attention on the front end. Because at the end of the day, you cannot sell somebody something, again, whether it's your agency services, whether it's a coaching product, it's a consulting product, it's a SaaS business, anything, you can't sell something without attention. And so that's always number one. And by the way, what I'll do here is I'll go through each stage and then I'll explain how they all tie in together, because as I say, it's when they all come together, it's when they all tie in together, which is where you get the true output. And my current output from this system has been over $1 million, right? Now, again, this is what I focused on, going from, where I'm at to, 50 million, 100 million, which is where I want to be going. I don't know if this is going to stay as my main focus because I've not done it yet. But I know, again, from going from 0 to where I am, this is where my focus will be. So number one is gaining attention. Now, this can be through a bunch of different mediums, right? Instagram, YouTube, Facebook ads, email outreach, right? When you're running your agency and you're trying to sign even your first few clients, right? You're at 0, you're trying to go from 0 to 1,000 a month, 2,000 a month, 5,000 a month. You're still gaining attention by doing your email outreach, by doing your social outreach, by doing your organic post. That's gaining attention, right? Second section is building an audience. Now, the second section, as I said before, is like the one where I don't always do it. So for example, with the agency, I've not really built an audience around my agency, like prospects. It's something that you can do 100%. It's just that I haven't done it. For example, again, if you do email outreach, again, you're following this exact system, which I'm explaining here, but you're not really doing that second stage. Technically, I suppose you are doing it in terms of if you send people to a funnel or a website of some sort, you're building an audience on that Facebook pixel. So I suppose you're kind of indirectly building an audience, but you're not building, like, for example, a Facebook group or a true following, right? Which is what I would more define as building an audience. But I suppose talking about it, you kind of are if you're doing it through a Facebook pixel, but you get the idea, right? So for example, these YouTube videos build an audience, right? And so once you've built that audience, then it's a matter of nurturing the audience. Now, whether you physically build a following, you physically build a Facebook group, you physically do this or do that, like physically build an audience, or whether you indirectly build an audience, for example, through email outreach, you're still nurturing the prospect. It just comes down to a question of how long are you nurturing them for. For example, if you're more in the coaching side of things, you may build a YouTube channel, right? And so with those people who follow you on the YouTube channel, you can nurture that person, that specific prospect, for up to a year before they buy, for up to 2 years before they buy. So that nurturing process is extremely long, right? And that acts as your conversion mechanism. Whereas with your agency, you're just not doing it over as long a time, but you're still nurturing them in that maybe you'll reach out to a prospect and then you'll link maybe a case study funnel or a VSL of some sort, right? And then when you send that prospect to that VSL, well, that acts as nurturing them. That acts as converting them. You're just doing it over a 15-minute VSL or a 30-minute VSL or a 10-minute VSL rather than over a 6-12 month period. But you're still nurturing them. And then moving on to the fourth section, and this is kind of separate to the first three, because the fourth section is in regards to the actual service that you're offering, the actual product that you're offering, right? If you build an audience, you nurture them, you acquire a lot of attention, but then you don't have anything to offer that audience, you don't have any services to offer them that actually solve a painful problem that that audience is experiencing, then they're not going to buy anything from you, right? If you build an audience all around, I don't know, like how to grow a business, and then you offer them a mat, right, with a cat on the mat, right? They're not going to buy it. Believe it or not, they're probably not going to buy it. So you need to offer a product or a service that's in alignment with the audience that you've built and nurtured for however long. And so again, with the agency example, if you do email outreach, you're reaching out to prospects, gaining attention. You're not necessarily building an audience is in the direct means of building a following and whatnot, but you're still gaining their attention. I suppose, again, you can indirectly say that you're building an audience by virtue of the Facebook pixel, and then you're nurturing them by virtue of some sort of funnel, some sort of asset conversion mechanism that then converts them from a prospect into a booked call, right? Which should always be the goal outcome of that conversion mechanism of the VSL, case study funnel, whatever it is. And then from there, at the end of that process, you're offering them something that's going to hopefully be the solution to a deeply painful problem that they're experiencing in their business. And so, that's kind of like the overarching system. And then obviously the product, the service itself has to actually deliver. So that's the fifth point, right? You have a product or service that on the front end is perceived to solve a painful problem that prospect or customer is feeling. And then in the back end, you need to genuinely have a product or service that actually fulfills on solving that painful problem that they're experiencing, right? Because again, without that back end product that actually does what it says, you're not going to be able to grow any type of business, to be honest, right? Just because you're not going to then experience the compound effect of word of mouth, right? The flywheel effect that happens by virtue of word of mouth. And that's a whole nother story, right? So I suppose that's the fifth component, is actually focusing on the product, on the service. But now, again, when I look back on what I've been focusing on over the last, year and a half, 2 years, it's like everything that I do always falls into one of those categories, right? Like everything that I do. Even, for example, you may argue, well, team doesn't fall into that. Kind of does, right? Because if you look at building a really strong team, what is that team for? Well, most of the time, especially in the agency space, if you're building a team, you're going to essentially be, at least initially, building that team around the service delivery, right? So what does that fall into? Well, it's the back end, it's that fifth point, right, of actually ensuring you can deliver a high level service for the clients which you sign on board by virtue of the first 4 points, right? And then, for example, if you hire a VA to do your lead generation, what point is that? Well, that kind of ties into gaining attention, right? Because then you're able to build a pool of people who you can show something to, and hopefully that will gain attention, right? And then, for example, if you focus on your emails, what are you doing there? Well, you're trying to nurture them, right? And I suppose that kind of ties into gaining attention as well. If you increase your email conversion rate, well, you've gained attention in a more effective way, right? So everything ties into those 4/5 points, including the product in the back end. And so, as I say, like going from 0 to 1 million, that's all I focused on. That's it. There's nothing else. I see so many videos of people trying to make all this super complex stuff. But if you just focus on those 5 things and make sure that each stage in that system is operating at its most effective level, you're gonna be easily able to scale to 50 to 100,000 a month. With ease. Again, I know it because I've done it, and that's all I focused on. Again, as I said at the start of the video, going from where I'm at to 50 million, 100 million, etc. over the next few years, that may be an entirely different process. I may need to entirely scrap what I've just gone through there, and it might be something completely different. I don't know, I've not done it yet, but I know from going from 0 to 1 mil, right? Again, technically it's over 1 million, but for the title of the video, 0 to 1 million, if you just focus on those 4-5 things, you'll hit 1 million, right? It's just a matter of time, more so, because that covers all bases. That's it. So that's really all I had for this video. I just thought it was interesting when I was thinking back. I was thinking back on my very short journey. I don't like saying journey because of 20 years old, you know what I mean? I'm not even gotten started yet, So I hate when people say oh, my journey, my career, this, that. It's dude, you're 17, you know what I mean? But yeah, when I look back on what I have done so far, the very small amount that I've done so far, everything that I've done has tied into those 4 or 5 points. So I think it's something worth thinking about if you're just starting out. If you're at 50,000 a month, you want to get to 200,000 a month, 250,000 a month. You're at 10,000, you want to get to 50,000, whatever it is. I just think it's important. And once I'm at 50 million, I'll probably make another one of these videos to explain what you need to focus on when you're at, or in order to get to 50 million, in order to get to 100 million. Might be the same thing, right? It might just be that we need to gain more attention. We need to solve a bigger problem. We need to nurture audiences in a better way, right? That might be all it is. Like, that might be the key to business. I don't know yet, but I know 0 to 1 mil, that is what I focused on, and it's kind of worked, right? It worked pretty well. So as always, guys, if you found this video valuable, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. You guys know the drill. And if you watch this video from start to finish, you guys are the ones who are going to get the most value out of it, and I want to know who you are. So comment the word 0 to 1 mil in the comment section below so I can see exactly who you guys are, who are actually getting the most value out of these videos. With that being said, as I mentioned before, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.